Welcome. Today we're doing an episode with Bas. I met Bas in 2014. He was one of the key members of Nxt Foundation, or Next Coin, depending on when he came into the scene and how you refer to it as. Very interesting conversations we've had over the years, and yeah, the scene has changed a lot. And I wanted to get in touch with Bas and kind of get a perspective of someone who has been there from the early days, because it's always good to refer to someone you've known from 2014 or any time before that, because so much has changed and so much has kind of come into the scene. It's always good to have that pivoting point to refer back to make sure you're on the right path, because it's really easy with a technology that's expanding as quick as blockchain and all the other cryptocurrencies to lose that kind of direction and fall into some mainstream path that may not be the best application of blockchain. So thank you for joining us, Bas. Yeah, if you could just kind of give us the intro of how you got into it and what inspired you to be involved.
Okay. It's a bit of an unlikely story, but in December 2013, I was working, living and working in a Buddhist center here in the center of Amsterdam. I used to be a theater maker, director, writer. Moved into a Buddhist center at a certain time and was a sales and marketing person there. Weirdly enough, but I was also still very much involved with online communities, and most people will remember that in 2013 Bitcoin first surged to the ATH at that point. So I had heard of it since 2011. 2013 decided to take a second look. Immediately decided I'm not going to buy in, much too expensive for me. I was living at a minimum wage at that point. So I went looking around, mined a bit, mined very early Dogecoin miner actually, because it was fun. But was quickly bored with most of the projects because they just added a bit to Bitcoin and nothing else. So I went looking around. There was a lot of scam, next at that point. So that piqued my interest. And I looked at the NXT thread at Bitcoin Talk then. They were only at one thread. And even though I didn't really understand the project directly, I was very much interested in the community. They were very open and they were very much looking to do other things with this thing they call blockchain. And my theater background made me look for creative projects. The NXT project had a very creative core at that moment. People were very enthusiastic, and I just loved hanging out with these people. But they were very disorganized. So what I started to do was, okay, what can I do here? I'm not technical, but okay, let's start a blog just outlining everything that happens during a day. And this was at a time where this was one thread, nothing else. Nobody had any idea that things were going forward. So I just made a blog post per day saying this has happened, categorized it, and that actually gave some impetus to the project. Got noticed by a few whales. They started donating to me. I thought, hey, this is interesting. I can earn money with this. So once they started their wiki, they had bounties for that. I translated, I think, the whole wiki into Dutch in 2 days. Earned quite a lot of NXT with that. And from that, it became, what I saw was you can just jump in and do stuff and earn money with it if you want to, but also make people enthusiastic. And I saw almost nobody doing that. Everybody was thinking, yeah, we're not good enough. And I'd always learned if you just start and see what happens, that usually is more beneficial in the long term. So I became kind of pivotal by default for the community. Started organizing things, saw there was no way to get into business. If you go to a business and say, yeah, I'm somebody from a blockchain, would you like to do something with this? This was in 2014, remember? This was the time when everybody in blockchain was seen as a drug peddler, criminal, whatever. Banks were not into blockchain. Nobody was into blockchain or Bitcoin or whatever. So that's, with a few people who were also active, we started the Nxt Foundation, just basically to have an address where if we went to a conference, we could have insurance, things like that, really basic stuff. Of course, once you put foundation after somebody, people think you're in charge, which for 2 years we've been vehemently denying. No, we're not in charge. We just have this foundation thing in our names. But it turned out that was the way it went. So for 2.5 years, I've been organizing that community. I even helped the developers set up their company. They wanted a company which is called Jelurida. It's here in the Netherlands. And then at a certain point, things became a bit stale for me, because everything started to be about money. Prices were not yet surging, was beginning of last year, and beginning of this year actually. Wow, it's things are really going fast. So I decided I needed to make a choice. I already had set up another company in education, because one of the things that I saw was there is enough material there for developers, and developers are usually used to reaching out and getting the stuff they want. Other people are not, and a lot of these other people are the people who are making the decisions whether a project will or will not get funded. So at that time we saw a lot of crap projects being funded. This was the start of the ICO hype. People just pumping millions into projects that most people would say these are not really helpful or will not bear fruit. So I decided to start a company to educate these people into really Bitcoin and blockchain basics. What can it do? What can they do? If you read a white paper, when do you see a huge red flag? Things like that. Because my fear is if we don't do that, this will come back at us in a horrible way at a certain point. People will lose money and then we'll get regulation in a way we don't want, and it shouldn't be needed if we actually take time to explain to people how things work. So that's what I've been doing for the last year. I have a company here in Amsterdam which does consulting, of course, but we also have courses, we have free meetups. We have a lab here in Amsterdam where we have spaces for people who want to build products, but without the need to actually deliver products. So we don't have ICOs in here. We have small teams of developers, independent entrepreneurs, people with an idea who just want to freewheel, find out if it works, and if it doesn't, fine, it doesn't. Instead of immediately having this weight of a mortgage around your neck, where you have the responsibility for tens of millions of dollars, which may go horribly wrong. It's not the best way to be creative.
No. You just mentioned some things that I really find amazing that's happened. So I remember back in 2014, a similar thing as ICOs happened, but that was with coins. So you would have all these so-called shit coins coming out. And it was just flooding. We had animal coins, the dog coin, cat coin, meow coin. We had the country themed coins. So there was Israel coin, Australia coin, Netherlands coin, whatever it was. All the different themes kind of took place, and then people did other things. Whatever it was, like, oh yeah, this is going to help charities. This is for helping people out water in certain countries, and we had water coin and things like that. It was really, really for me to see the ICO thing happen again.
Yeah.
In a different form, enabled by Ethereum tokens, was really wow, it's happening again. And for me, the funny part is that at least with the coins, you needed to have some sort of a technical ability. You run a few nodes, you kind of start the coin, you have to debug it, and there's some things involved. But what I didn't really appreciate about Ethereum was that it allowed anyone to just kind of create these tokens and just write a very, I guess, nicely written white paper, and on that basis, people were just kind of like writing the hype, oh, Ethereum token, it must be all right, or you know, it creates a lot of pollution and tainted views in the field. And you're very right in that we need to make sure it goes correctly, because otherwise it would just look really, really bad, and people would just be like, oh, you know, ICOs, like, they don't have to be bad, but majority are bad. I mean, you know, if you have an idea, ICO is quite revolutionary, that you can skip going to angel investors or, like, you know, some people with deep pockets, and just kind of crowdfund it in your own way and distribute tokens in the sense that they can use on the platform. I mean, it's in essence, it's not a bad thing. It's just human nature kind of sees ability to grab that money, and it makes it really bad. And unfortunately, majority are bad, and that is a thing in itself. But yeah, I really do see the change in the cultural change, where, you know, it went from a technology, like you said, that no one wanted to like talk about. Banks were laughing. I remember Forbes and all these other big so-called mainstream magazines. Whenever you spoke about blockchain, they would be like, "Go to your garage room, you bunch of, you know, geeks. Go to your mother's basement and to talk from there." And like, people used to laugh about it, and it's quite funny that these same people now come and, you know, I don't know. It speaks for itself. I don't want to get into the negative aspect of it too much, but it's quite hilarious to watch them now come out and like talk about blockchain, and you got like these IVM hyperledgers coming out, and like, they own the blockchain. They are suddenly the people to go to if you have ideas on how to develop a blockchain, and the whole thing is just hilarious, really. And you know, we've had even Cisco patenting their own form of a blockchain. We've had MasterCard come out and say, yeah, develop on our blockchain, which is also patented. And this is just scary. What do you think about this? Do you think it will hinder future progress or development?
No, not at all. I have no. This is the same thing with ICOs. Look, I even with all the education that we do, people are free not to be educated. That's fine. So there is no thought in me that, no kind of thought that I'll save the day and educate everyone. It's open. Everything within the whole cryptocurrency space is opt-in, and that means it should be available. But what with this, I've seen this up close. So in 2014, I first, via a very weird way, we entered with NXT into PayExpo, which is one of the bigger financial conferences in London each year. And that was the year we had a lot of fun, because we were just thinking, what the hell are we doing here? All these bankers around in the city. And the year after, that was the year where it pivoted into blockchain. Around April, May 2015, you started to everything before that was Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I was one of the persons that actually said crypto is not that good a name because it sounds like crypt, won't sell. But then it became blockchain, and we got the weirdest thing. You've got people from the Bank of America, what are CTOs, actually coming up to your booth and saying, could you do a proof of concept for us? And what the hell? No, we can't, because we have no idea what you're doing. And after that, you got Hyperledger, then you got R3 with Corda, which now, by the way, is blockchain inspired and no longer a blockchain, which everybody within, I think, cryptocurrency expected to happen. And it happened within a year. The cultural change is, of course, there's much more money around. We were very happy with NXT. We started with, in 2013, with 100 million market cap, which was, I think, second place or third place in coin market cap. That was high. If you look at coin market cap, first page goes to 100. Usually that was 500,000 2 years ago. Now, with 50 million, you're not even on that page anymore. So the stakes have gotten higher, and that means different kind of people are moving in. So it's all about money, which yes, Bitcoin started as cash, money, something in fintech, but it's not about money. The stupid thing is that everybody, when we started, was about getting a kind of freedom, opening up things, being self-sovereign, being your own boss, being no interference and no possibility for interference. Most ICO projects wipe their ass with that idea. Sorry, but it's true. Most of these people, if you look at the scaling discussion that we had with Bitcoin Cash, before Bitcoin Cash, before the 1st of August, the scaling discussion, you often on Twitter and on Bitcoin Talk, you saw a lot of people just saying, yeah, but we need more bandwidth, more space, because otherwise it won't be worth anything. Really, if you give away something, and I don't care if it's Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin, let's be honest about that. I'm neutral in that for now. It's about an ideology behind it, and most people in the discussion that butted in just didn't care, as long as it scaled. Any price was worth that, it needed to scale. Okay, but what if you lose censorship resistance in the process? Most people didn't even know what was meant with that, and that's a difference I really see. Banks, of course, don't care at all about that, but most corporations, most businesses don't care about it either. So I think that a minority at this point is still very much committed to the original idea of having a censorship-resistant, stamper-free ledger and scaling that, as opposed to a lot of people who just want to make a business with it, no matter what. And I think a lot of the disconnect in the discussion is because of that.
I myself see a big difference in the chain because, you know, like you said, back in the days, it was different. Like you didn't need to kind of explain why this is important. The people that attended the meetups or conferences were all there fighting for the same reason, which was to get rid of central banks, to get rid of all these centralized, you know, blocks in our society that take so much money out of the system, add regulation, and a lot of things that's just unnecessary. But over the years, especially this year, I feel like I spent half the presentations just reminding people why this started. Like, hey guys, like it's cool, y'all, you know, and like the conferences have changed where like half of them are just talking about investing in our ICO, or like what coins should I invest in, or like, you know, just. And for me, it really shows people's mentality and why the world is the way it is like, you know, sometimes we need to just kind of zoom out and see the bigger picture. Otherwise, it will turn into the internet where people will forget why it started and why, you know, the cypherpunks kind of like push the movement forward. And now no one even knows. They're just on their Facebook liking stuff, not realizing that this same piece of technology can give them access to so much knowledge and sovereignty. So
I still think that it's not really something that will fade, though. It's just like it's just like you see with access to music, file sharing, peer-to-peer sharing. It's not something that's going away. There is a real alternative to all this. I still like the idea, and I've come to appreciate the way Bitcoin operates in all of this. It just plows along. Of course, there's a lot of shouting there, but it plows along and it does what it does. And yes, people are free to fork. If you see in the Bitcoin discussion over SegWit2x, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold, people shouting, you shouldn't be allowed to fork. That is the problem. Exactly saying that is the problem. Yes, everybody is allowed to fork. It's bloody open source software. It's inherent. You can't stop it. Yes, you can. Of course, you should always call people out when they attack it, but you should never say you're not allowed, because otherwise you should immediately close the source and say, sorry, you're not allowed, and we're going to sue you if you're not going to do this. This is the same with the whole discussion about governance in crypto projects that we get a lot. I see a lot of people talking about governance. It would be 100,000. Bitcoin would be at 100,000 if we had proper governance. It is properly governed within the parameters of this project. There is always a fierce discussion between developers about where a project should go. But it is a fierce, open discussion. And if you don't like it, yes, you should fork, because it wouldn't help anyone if you'd stayed with the project you hated. And the nice thing is you can and prove yourself in the market. But that's
I had an interesting conversation about this recently in the Bitcoin Cash community, because I was just going through Bitcoin Talk and just kind of observing what sort of messages people are putting out there. And it was just amazing to me how many people would go out of their way to come into this thread and just be like, this is fake, this is like just talking all this negative stuff. Yeah. And I just left a message. I'm like, guys, I don't understand. Like, if you don't like something, you don't have to go out of your way to put it down. I mean, in a lot of cases, cryptocurrencies are subjective, right? Like, you choose for yourself what's right. And this is the old centralized mentality that we're bringing into this and going, no, but there should only be Bitcoin, and anyone that harms it, all the market cap that's in Bitcoin Cash could have been in Bitcoin, so I could be like $100 richer by each. And like, this is just ridiculous, you know, like, to think like that, really, one should look at themselves and realize how ignorant and narrow-minded that method of thinking is, because you're just not seeing the bigger picture. And for me, I want to see these forks because it's, in a way, it's just allowing people to express themselves the way they want. And if it's successful, why not? Yeah. And I left an example, which was like, it's like going to the fruit shop and saying, no, red apples are the best. Why do you have green apples? Like, going to the store and I'm going, this is ridiculous. Like, everyone loves red apples. If you didn't sell the green apples, all the money would go into the red apples and investments into red apple farming or whatever, you know, some ridiculous thing. Like, it makes no sense, like, to even think like that. And why should it be any different in this sense? And they can all learn from each other. And I really dislike this. You know, actually, I have this quote from Nextcoin, actually, you remind me of in a very long time. This is from the Next forum. I forget who it was, but it says, you guys wasting your time here attacking our allies instead of fighting against bankers. The fact that attacks became much intense after BitShares and outpaced Next on CoinMarketCap makes me to think that you are in Next just to make more profit. This makes me very upset. And this is from the Next forum. I forget what year this is from, but these were the sort of messages communities used to put out. I remember on Bitcoin Talk or other forums, if you ever spoke about like, so when are we making more money, or like whatever it was, the whole community as a whole would come after you and be like, if you're here just to make money, get out, go follow some other coin. And this has changed a lot.
I remember when we had ICO too. Because we were, together with Counterparty, we were one of the few systems that could actually make different tokens called assets on the blockchain. And a lot of people tried ICOs then. And they were, at that point, 10,000 was a lot to ask for any project. And I do remember a lot of people being called out, why do you need 10,000? Why do you need 10,000? You have your free time, you have your computer, you can code. Why not code and then try to sell it yourself like a normal product? If it's good, it will. And there was a lot of talk like that. That quote, by the way, was by JL777. That was the creator of SuperNet and Komodo. He was very adamant. He always, and he still says, we are not each other's enemies. The enemy is fiat. It's a simple quote, and it does work. Everybody had that idea. Again, you can always laugh at other projects. That's fine. I think there are a lot of projects that are useless and shit, and you are allowed to laugh, but there is a difference between laughing and exposing weaknesses and attacking and even if it's good, attacking it. And I like it. There's in that case, for instance, Fluffy Pony of Monero does that to himself. I love that. He just, no, don't buy Monero. Don't buy it. Please don't. And a lot of people got pissed off by that, but it is honest at least. And people like him still embody what I loved about this. I also love the fact that people get terribly confused about it. Why are you doing this? Aren't you in it for money? No, I'm not. I like to make money, but it's not why I'm in this. And that's, yeah, that's how it goes. There is a cultural change, but I don't on the other hand see that the old school hardcore people are still out there doing their thing, no matter what. And there's also a different model. Like, for instance, what I did a while back, 2 years ago, we did a crowdfunding to fund myself and my colleague Dave Pierce for the Nxt Foundation to be able to operate for a year. And that was a donation-based thing. And that also works. I don't see the point in doing an ICO if you basically could also just ask for donations. At least that's leaves you out of the snake pit of having to, for some reason, shoehorn dividends or payouts in there. Yeah. We promised we're going to do a good job. That's the dividend everybody got. And we did. Look where it is now. We started out with an 8 million market cap. It's now 260 million. So I'm not unhappy, and I hope the investors aren't either. But it's at least it's a donation based, and Monero does this too, for instance. And a lot of Bitcoin developers also do donations. Fine. It's also much. It's possible to do it that way. I think sometimes ICOs are intellectually very lazy. Yeah, you will just do an ICO, not even thinking of alternatives, and then it's just a trick.
Sure. I mean, like in the case of 250 million, I just can't imagine what you need. Like, what are you making with 250? like even Ethereum raised like 16 million or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And there's a startup with 250 million is, by any standards, not because I dislike it, it's just not a good idea. It's ridiculous. Where's your incentive to really work at that point? Instead of attacking your foundation like Tezos did and then getting into that kind of stupid fight. It's, yeah, I don't understand it.
Well, let's shift the light a bit. So we just covered like kind of the culture and what's been going on. I wanted to ask you about what you're involved with now. So you have these regular meetups in Amsterdam. I came to one, and you focus on the social aspect of it, and I really like that. So, you know, just for people that are, I guess, it's not really, I guess, in some aspects their fault, because, you know, the mainstream news just focuses on the dollar sign and how much it's worth in the euros or whatever. But what are some of the benefits of applying blockchain or the underlying technology behind Bitcoin to other sectors? What benefits does it have in terms of social impact and you know, issues around the world?
Yeah, the main idea for me, it should always be about empowerment, where look, most business models that evolved over the ages evolved in such a way that we needed to give away a certain amount of control. Things done, which is fine. Sometimes that's very good. If I want something fixed in my house, the piping, I'll go to a plumber. I need to outsource it. Otherwise, it'll take me a lot of time to do it myself, and probably it'll be substandard. So in that case, middlemen is not a bad idea. But we gotten used to it, and in a lot of areas, you could ask the legitimate question: could we do without? If you read the white paper by Satoshi, it's not immediately about kicking down banks. It's he says, or they say, very clearly, we have this situation where with digital money, the flow of this money is in the hands of a few central players. This introduces a single point of failure, and it's not and by default money corrupts. So it's not really a good idea to have that situation. Is there a way we could solve this and decentralize it? That's the central discussion of Bitcoin as far as I'm concerned, and blockchain in general. So any place where you could do this, and we see this in money, of course, in finance, because that's a very clear case where people can get corrupted very easily, but also by extension now data. Data is money, it is control. Any of those places you can look for blockchain solutions, I would say. And the big thing, of course, is, can you teach people that they're actually being milked for value in the subtle ways like Facebook and Google, for instance, do this? They incentivize you to share your data and then capitalize on it themselves.
Just quickly to make a note here, I was at the Hackers Congress, and they said in Prague, and they said something very interesting. They're like, there's two ways to pay for your services. Either is you pay a monthly fee, and chances are they'll track you and sell things on top of that anyways to third parties, or it's free and you pay for it by your private information, other resources that you make available. Yeah. So in a lot of cases, I would love, for example, in YouTube to pay like €2 a month and for them to just leave me alone with the advertisement. You know, if I just had that choice, it would be great. Yeah. Same with Facebook. I would gladly pay like $2-3 a month to not be tracked, to not share my stuff with third parties, to give me better privacy, encryption, and these sort of tools. Otherwise, I'll use it for free and do whatever you like. You know, if I just had the choice and if they made it transparent so I could understand, it would be great. But unfortunately, people are like, oh, it's free, you know, let's download this one. Don't worry about paying, you know.
Yeah, no, it's as long as it's free, you are the product, like they say. And the whole thing comes down again to being able to opt out. And that costs money because it takes money to run that service. Fine. I have really no problem with that, as long as it's a clean choice. And it's all about being able to opt out of things if you want to. And we're not able to opt out of anything. Or at least not without sacrificing a huge chunk of convenience, which we have. So yeah, that's mostly what this is about for me. It's also sometimes stupid things, for instance, because a lot of blockchain ideas are always about monetizing everything. So, for instance, one of the projects I really have beef with is Luna. The Wikipedia on the Ethereum blockchain, which intends to monetize their product by advertisements. So one of the key things about Wikipedia is that it will never ever have advertisements, and there are other reasons why editors on Wikipedia do what they do. It's also about an altruistic motive or an ego motive, that yeah, I edited that article and it actually passes muster. That's cool and I like that, and that represents value for me. It's immaterial value, but it works that way. So if we monetize everything, saying editors need to be paid for every line, I don't think you really get it. So that's where I have my doubts about some blockchain projects. Sometimes it's not about the price tag. This is not about money, it's about value. And value is much more than just your paycheck.
Sure, I completely understand. Just to kind of give people an idea, if they are in Netherlands or Amsterdam, what sort of topics you cover at your meetups? You know, what can they learn?
We have
sorry, just to quickly mention it.
Yeah. So it's the permissionless society. That's what the way. So on Meetup you can find it as permissionless society. We explicitly did not include blockchain in it because we don't know where it will go. What we cover is, one, it's meant the first part of every meetup is meant for people who have no idea about Bitcoin and blockchain. So we always open with half an hour introductory presentation about, okay, what's this all about? And the second part is always about a topic. We did music, we did legal, we did self-sovereign identity, for instance. It's about a topic that's not strictly blockchain and a combination with blockchain. And we always strive to have a speaker that's working in the blockchain industry and somebody who is more topically involved. Usually we try to get an expert. And we bounce them against each other. So for instance, with music, we had 2 blockchain projects and we had a few people even from Spotify in the audience. And the nice thing is, blockchain projects tend to be in a kind of a bubble, not that kind of bubble, but in the bubble that they're only within the blockchain industry and thinking in those terms, where it's obvious that all these other businesses are also thinking about the same topics. So we might as well learn from what they've done. So one of the simple things that came past was that within music, there was this idea that you could just put something, a hash of something on a blockchain, and that would constitute proof of existence, and that would be enough. This was also already something that non-blockchain projects had experimented with, and it just doesn't hold up in court because it's a single instance, not a complete representation of the work. So that opens up a discussion. And we hope to do that within every meetup. So let's see what. So it will always be a topic combined with blockchain and a discussion. We try to make that as critical as possible.
And I like that you don't charge entry, to be honest. A lot of people are coming into this scene and kind of. Yeah, charging some heavy fees like 20 euros entry, you know, here's my bank account, send me the money, no problem.
Yeah. Now, the whole idea about meetups is for us that they should be free. It's always possible for people to give donations if they want to, but our courses and our lessons, that's a paid model. That's fine. Again, we're very honest. Everything that you will see is possible to get online. It's open source material, so you could also go to the Bitcoin wiki or buy a book or do these things themselves. The things that you're actually paying for is the form that we put it in. So we walk you through the material in a way that's readily understandable, and we think we should be paid for that. And but people can always get the same material and even the slides for free. As long
absolutely, but you can say that about any university course, you know.
Exactly.
You can probably even understand it better if you just kind of self-educate yourself, but the purpose is having someone to bounce ideas off, mentoring you through as someone with experience that you can kind of cut through the garbage through, you kind of.
Yeah, it should be the same material that we cover in 8 hours in one of our courses. It would take you at least, let's say, 3 times as much or even more without that mentoring. Fine, but meetups should be free, I think. It's also very low barrier, so we want people in there. We want the ICO people in there. It's fun. I once did a presentation for 450 people in Groningen and north of Holland, and it turned out that 90% of the people were in there to get ICO advice. And that's it's because that actually is a challenge, getting them to understand why I'm doing this and why I think this is interesting, and I'm not going to tell them what to buy, and they still all stay. That's much more interesting than going into a group that already knows everything and has their own ideas.
For sure. Good on you. Like, you're doing a great job, and you know, I always try and make sure people get reminded of the bigger picture of what's going on, and try and get involved with projects that kind of have a social impact or some sort of a good direction to it, rather than, you know, just chasing which ICO should I invest in, and you know, which one's going to make you buy me the next Lamborghini or whatever. Yeah, just kind of like be aware of the situation and what impact you can have, and support projects that you really believe in, and like it kind of resonates with your beliefs on how the world should be operating or other aspects of it. But thank you so much, Bas. Yeah, we'll keep it informative to that point, and I hope to share the video with you and your community and other people as well, so they can kind of get a reminder of what it was all about, and you know, kind of get back on track if they've been kind of pulled aside by the human aspect involved, chasing the greed side of things, and more focus on, you know, the goodness of what it's all about. There's no reason to not even mix the two, you know. There's no
No, absolutely not. And it's, I think one of the most important things to also keep an eye on is that this is fun. This is, everybody who's still watching this is still a pioneer in something that most people will think, what the hell are you doing? It's getting less now, but most people, if you look at the items on mainstream television here in the Netherlands, it always is about how rich are you. And the nice thing is, in a few years, you can say, I was there. That's the thing I still have most fun about. I was bloody there in 2013, and that second wave, it's not the first wave of people. Those are 2009, 2013. But it's awesome.
For sure. I think so as well. The stories I have, the communities, the, you know, the enthusiastic people I meet on IRC. I miss the IRC days.
Oh, yes.
Where people were really eager to learn, to contribute, to do things, rather than kind of not knowing what's going on. It was a completely different scene. I'm really proud and happy to have been a part of it since those days. And yeah, you're right, a lot of people are like, oh, wow, you've been part of it since 2013. You must be so rich. And I'm like, I didn't come into this for this, you know. If I wanted to do that, I would have. There's much better ways to figure, you know, to get money. But you know, you got involved because something about it kind of rang a bell inside you that just like, oh wow, okay, you know, I want to be involved with these projects because they can have an impact on some sort of a you know, facility within society. So yeah, it's really great, and to be, you know, to keep in touch with the people from the back in the days, and to see they still haven't lost their path is really great, because it really shows you that, you know, those people had a different mentality, and we're still keeping that mentality. It hasn't really changed.
The thing, one of the things that I'd like to remind people of, by the way, it's everybody asks which coin should I invest in, and investing is always giving something away in order to get something back, and that, especially when it's money, it's always stressful. So we both invested in a way that's different. I only bought 1/2 Bitcoin ever, and all the rest that I earned over time was by investing time and getting donations or payments for that. That's still possible. There are a lot of projects that have real bounties. I'm not talking about the signature bounties, but real bounties for constructive work like translating a wiki. And that is fun work to do, because you get two things at the same time. You get paid, and you get an in-depth attachment to the project by having to translate it into your native language. That's usually, that means you really need to think about what you're writing. It's a very good way to do things, and actually, well, it always feels, because you're doing this in your own free time and having fun with it, it always feels like you're getting something for free. And you're also getting a lot of respect in the communities. And that's a good way to do it. Just work.
Yeah. There's one way to kind of mine for it. There's another way you mine for it with your skills. And I've always appreciated mining for it with my skills.
Exactly.
And it's worked out quite well.
It's much less risky than putting your money, your savings into it. And it's a lot less stressful too.
I agree, because then you really put your time somewhere where you believe, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice one. Well, thank you so much, Bas. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Hopefully we can catch up somewhere else. And your next meetup, is just coming around, isn't it?
Yeah, next meetup, which is about sustainable production of garments, is coming up 16th of November in A Lab in Amsterdam. So
nice one. If anyone's around, check it out for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll speak soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.